What I do want to do, however, I'm going to use Unity's internal API and turn this into a drag and drop positioning thing. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I'm thinking something like any weird behavior would be the cause of the developer. You'll be plugging in weird values to get weird behavior, and it's stable at single behaviors and at multiple behaviors of the same type. So this is what we're checking now: is the instability of multiple different behaviors on the same component. So this is ugly. I'm gonna whip up a quick editor script to have a better display there, so we can see things nicer. So we can call this what is that? Limits transform. Let's create an editor for this. So limits transform. No. I need to create an editor for this. It's just for the ping pong for now. And if it works out decently, I'll bring it over to the. So editor. So we grab our editor, custom editor. No. No. Am I adding feature creepy for you? No. Oh, kill me with the edge cases, and these are things I'll never think of on my own. And I like it. I like when you screw my head up like that. Just kidding. It's cool. I like it. Every suggestion. So we strip all of this out. We have a whole new set of classes, methods that we can deal with here. So we want unenable. That's Control Shift M, by the way, in Unity VS to bring up this menu. Gives you all the model behavior implementations. So we just use that one. I don't think we have on Inspector GUI. That's an editor only. So let's override on Inspector GUI. And this is where we do our drawing. One Unity internal. You know, they better not ever take this out. Because I have assets that depend on this. So there's a reorderable list in here. So let's get one of those out, and we'll use that to draw the list of limit transforms. So we have a reorderable list, and we can declare it here. Equals a new reorderable list, and it gives us a serialized object. That's what's here already, and the element would be a new. No, it'll be the serialized object. Find the property, and we'll input the property name there directly. Draggable, true, so that way we'll see if that has any effect on it. Let's display the header, display the add buttons, and the remove button. Okay, so and the next important thing is to grab the actual value. So this is the field name that it's going to be looking for here, and that's what we need to draw. So now on Inspector GUI, we can just for kicks, let's draw it at a layout capacity. How do you do that? Do layout. So drawing it like this is automatic layouts. If you're using a property drawer, then you need to use the other drawer, the other do draw. That way you get to pass in the positioning and everything. So this is what it gives us, and we can move them around, and these are the exact elements that we were provided before. So now a reorderable list comes with quite a few callbacks, and that's what you use to actually draw, prepare. I think we're moving and adding the items. So if I remove that, yeah, so that's automatic. It does that for us. When you want to add an item, however, you can override it to give it default values and stuff. So let's draw. So editor, draw, properties excluding. So here we can give the serialized object again. Don't mess with colors. GUI, inspector GUI sounds like I know, inspect the GUI or inspector gadget. Let's take off the UI and just call him inspector gadget. My favorite inspector, of course. Inspector go. Hey, they don't think about names and stuff. I think Microsoft. I heard somewhere like they're naming things and you have to change the name because of the the ideas that come across when you hear something like that. I can't remember what software they changed, but they had to change one of their recent software to reflect a more pleasing name than when you hear it out loud. Like win with a dong, that type of stuff. So we want to draw all the properties and we want to exclude the property that we will be drawing. See how that works. That way we get our neat little drawers. I spent all day drawing. So there we are. So now we have our previous values and our new values. So these need to be customized. There were drop downs, right? So we have two drop downs. So we know we could do that now. So let me remove that and let me call the regular draw default inspector. You can either do base on inspector or you can call their function draw default inspector. I guess that's a method, message, or whatever that's on this class. You need to use a strange ways of object and communications and declarations, and the way they have their methods and everything defined is not as intuitive as you would think. Certain things are messages, they're not events, but it provides a unique way to interact with the objects, like awake, start. Those are messages from what I understand. So it allows us writing new classes to override those and provide new accessors, private, public, protected, that you can't do with interfaces. Or you can, but you have to write a lot of extra code. Are you on mobile again? Yesterday I tried out 540 DPI on the stream, and the words. Have a quick drink of this coffee. Finish it up before it gets cold. So the coding will stop for a few minutes while I finish this coffee. Yeah, 540 DPI was okay. It just looked a little bit blurry, and I'm still getting an excellent on the stream on the dashboard at 720, so I kept it. But my Windows by no means 720. Most of my desktop real estate is just off. I don't know what effect that has on my viewers, but I would hope it would be better. I also turned down the stream delay So it gives a few less seconds of delay. But they said the effect of that would be buffering on the viewer's side. So you telling me that makes me believe that probably I need to uncheck the stream delay. That might help with the stability of the stream. Uh, I removed the bad word filter, I think, man. You don't have to use the asterisk. If you're not willing to try, I understand. Mubot's a bit harsh there. You type in one sentence, you get 4 timeouts, 4 warnings, and a timeout. I mean, what word did you have in that sentence? Like that had to have been a really bad word to count for such a harsh reaction from Mubot. Cows usually don't react like that. You must have really tipped that thing over harsh. All right, let's get back to this code. Yeah, Mubot's a meanie. Yeah, like I said, I don't mind talking. Part of common speech. Okay, so now we need to. See, if I move this here, you notice this changes. So it sorts them by order. And of course, if I add another one, it did it crash? It didn't add another one. Hang on. So I won't add. If I add 3 here, how about if I remove it? Select it and remove the third element. So it doesn't remove it either. That's probably because I'm drawing it again. But it does still change the position. So I need to get these 2 fields drawn in here. And to do that, we have to override the callback. Oh, I just got a new follower. Thanks for the follow. I missed the name on that. You know who you are. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I know Iodine Dinosaur is hogging the chat, but everyone else is also welcome to chat. He's just my most outspoken viewer. Actually, my only viewer for quite some time. So we've grown accustomed to each other. So drawing the element, this is what draws the element. And here's another strange thing about Unity and me not knowing exactly how they implement this stuff under the hood. Usually if it's an event, it would allow me to add the event, but it doesn't. So chances are that's not an event. It's like an action or something. Let's dig in a little bit deeper. Okay, so it's their own defined delegate. Okay. So now that I know it's their own defined delegate, and I can either keep on heading in to see what variables to pass, or C#. Visual Studios does it all. So that's what I need to pass on in, and to get my drawing the way I want it. Cool, definitely will. And a high and by. Ark? Is that a PC game? And what kind of game is that? Like Noah's Ark? I don't know. That's the only Ark I've heard about in a while. Coming from someone who doesn't even follow gaming and the development now, just stuck programming. Okay, so now they give us a rectangle, which is this rectangle in blue. That's probably who I got the follow from, huh? Let me see the Twitch alerts. Might help to mention someone's name to show courtesy, which I don't mind. I'm a horrible reader, so. Well, while Twitch alerts is spinning up, so let's do an editor GUI. So we have an editor GUI and an inspector GUI. Or is editor the inspector sidekick like Sherlock and Holmes? So we have pop-up, enum pop-ups that we can use. And the enum mask field. That's what I was looking for. I think these are multiple checks, so you can check like layers. That's what I was looking for, to not have to do all of these. So you can check X, you can check Y and leave Z unchecked, and it will process X and Y, or or either or all in combination. So we want the pop-up. There's an enum pop-up, and it takes a serialized a position, and the rec is our position, so we're good with that. And I don't know if that's the one I want to use. We get the label, we get the enum. Yeah, I get confused as which one to use. One of them is an enum. So that's a regular pop-up. It uses indexes. That's an enum, so I guess it will translate exactly our enumeration. Let's start with the pop-up, because I'm not sure which one works. With iodine dinosaurs. Holy smokes, now you're in trouble. Yes, that was the follower. Awesome. Thank you for the follow. So the selected index would be the property of that particular index. So we can find which property it is by using the list. Now, that has a list on it. I think this one can be used, but I'm not sure. So, and to be safe, I'm going to take this function out of here. I'm going to make it an inline function. We'll pass it here. So we don't need the don't need the index, don't need any of the defining types. And we'll do it like that. That way we have access directly to everything that's declared in here. I did that because I want to list property. So var. So the list property equals what we get from our declaration here. So knowing that PROPERTY, we can take the property and get the index. Add the index that's being passed in here. That'll give us our serialized property. Now with this serialized property, we should just be able to slam it in here. So we have a label, index, label, position, label, index. So none of them take serialized properties. So how about a property drawer? Property field. Let's try that one. So property field takes the rect and the property, and it will draw it. So that's a start. We should get one of them. Okay, there's something. Oh, from what I see happening, it's actually drawing the selector. Okay, interesting. Don't want that. So in this property, there are multiple properties. So let's find the transform property. So the transprop, and we want the field prop. Okay, so these two we'll pull out of the property. So it's find, just like find property, but you're going to find a relative property, the property on the property. So this is for inner class stuff. And the properties that we'll be looking for are the ones defined here. The stuff that are inside of this class, the relative properties. So we'll be looking for the transform field, and properties can only be pulled out in the editor if they are serializable. And so they have to be a public, in a serializable class, or private serialized field. So now that we have those two, so if we pass in now the trans property, we will get, I think, the drop down from the transform field. So to draw it, it'll stretch it all the way across. So here we go. We have both of them. So changing this one would also change that one, and so on. So now in editing, we know that we have a position and our field, X, Y, Z, and or all. So we don't need the actual, the field label, that's the name. So if we have two of those, right, one for this guy and, well, one for that guy and one for this guy or gal, whatever you are in computer land. So we take the two recs. So we take one rec for the trans, equal rec, and we take another rec for the field. So now both of these are exactly the same. Right? So if we use that here and that here, they'll be on top of one another. Okay, so now it's drawn, they're right on top of one another, which is good, bad, and ugly. Right? So the good part being we know it's there, and now we can visually separate them and see how they're being separated. It's definitely ugly, and the bad part is just you can't use it like that. So there you go. And if you're a fan of the old movies, so now that we have each rect, we can split them. The property field, you can do that. Yeah, sweet deal. Hang on, let me kill the delay time. That's the type of stuff that I want to know. Twitch. perfect opportunity. So now, where do I need to go? Settings. Later, Diamond Rose. Thanks for stopping by. Maybe I mod you one day. So remove the reduce stream delay and save the changes. Hopefully it'll go right through the stream. Hopefully that works. I need to test you. Use your account to test. Okay, so what else could we add on here? Include children, not necessary. Okay, so this is what we want, no label. So new GUI label. Of nothing. Okay, so let's see what happens here. And I want to take the transposition. Let's define the width as being half of the width. All right, times 0.5. How about half of the Rex width? And we can do that for both. Also half of the rec width. But this one will do the X-min. That's the starting position of the X in the rectangle. We'll position that at also the width of the original rectangle plus, we'll do 5 now and then see what needs to be adjusted. I think if we pass in the GUI contents, that removes the labels. So as we have our visual aid going on here, we can see exactly what's going on. So this is what we have. So we have a position we can select, and it's a little bit too far because the fields are over the position. So we can extend that just a bit, and then we'll push everything to the left a bit. So our X position equals the minimum X equals the width plus 5. That might not be enough. It said to use min X, but let me see if I use the actual X value, what happens. I read somewhere in the docs that min X is the appropriate value to use because it's the new value. See, so that changes all sorts of stuff. So I actually like the min X being like that, and then let's increase the X position to there, and let's see what happens. I like the small compact size, but it being extended to the other side would be nice too. So what do we get out of that? I can see that the overlap. So the overlap is about a quarter of their width, and it's overlapped at the same amount. So min X equals that divided by that plus the same amount. Let's start with 30 as an amount. Pick any arbitrary value and then work at it from there. 30 was almost enough. Okay, so 35 maybe? About 40. And then start backtracking from there. So now you can keep that one as the original name of the field. Okay, so what do we got? We have the field. I know I'm not supposed to do two things at once when changing these positions because I rarely understand what's going on with them. And if I do more than one, then I I always end up screwing things up. So now let me do that again, and I would see now I know how it looks like so. So after I add it, I would know what to do to get it back to at least this state. So that's being cut off completely. I'm not even sure if it's being pushed in. So it's cut off completely. It's showing the entire name of the field, which gives more than enough room, of course, to draw everything. So we're going to be drawing this trans without GUIs, and we'll be adding our own title. So we want the width of this guy to be way smaller. So I'm thinking of a width of about 60, probably less. Because we only want it to encompass the X, the Y, and the Z in the final configuration, which is all three of them. This one. So that's as big as it needs to be. So we can take our rect, right? And we can take the X position and we can add, how much do we want to add to that? What do we have here? So we have all of this empty space, and it remains the same amount of space in relation to how big the editor is. I'm going to put it at 60 and see what's the result of that. I do realize they're overlapping. This has to be much smaller. So at our initial position, they both move in, but that guy doesn't budge. And it doesn't budge because it needs a new X position. Its X position is being set in stone here by the width of the X. I need that. So we're going to set our X position at the width of the X minus, how big do we want this thing? Man, 60 wins the day today. 60 is everywhere. That's kind of okay. Let's know where it's at. But I don't like it. Hi, Gary. So, no indentation. Let's keep it nice and smooth. I don't think a label is required there. You know what you're doing. Okay, let's get you, and let's make these uniform so they can scale appropriately. So wherever this transform ends, this transform will begin, and it would go to its width plus any arbitrary number I plugged in. And after that's set, I know that will define, positions that are relative and that's all with the inspector. Okay, so no matter how I move this, they'll stay together and they'll scale appropriately. So this is minimum inspector. I can create a tiny little gap here. So 33. It looks like more because considering this is about that big, looks like a much bigger space in there. Okay, and the width of this guy is too big. So how about a width of, oh, a width of what's remaining might be good. But I'll stick to 50 for now. What I meant by a width of what's remaining, you calculate the width, whatever this is using up, and then add in whatever is left. Because now we're, there's a lot of empty room here, and there's no way of filling it in without having the components fill it in. So that component, it's defined by the width of the rectangle, which is changing. The width of the rectangle changed. Right, and is divided by a half. Okay, so I think I can at least get a different reaction with using the width of the entire field. Okay, so if I use that and divide that by a half, view width I think is the entire inspector from start to under or to the end of the inspector, not including the scroll. I think it ignores the scroll position. So it grows and it continues to grow and the gap stays the same. So we have the width, so let's do it by the width. And dividing it by a half is bad because then you lose so much. So that's the entire width, and we're going to subtract the width of our field, our rec field. Plus 10. Gotta do some padding. Padding all over again. Bingo. So we're edge to edge. Okay, so we've made room. So we're edge to edge, and now we need an additional 50. That being the size of our actual pop-up for the X, Y, and Z. So that should smack us right into our bounds. Yep. So this gap is way too big. We can use some of that gap to decrease this gap. And then we can just minimize it just a tad. It's already huge and it's just going to get bigger. So the position, can still make it a little bit smaller. So we'll do 80. So that'll take 20 off of it. I think that's about 20. Okay, whoa, I was way off. That's 20. And that's good right there. I'll make this wider so it can at least be as big as the a drop down. So how about 60 on the width? I don't know if anyone notices or cares, but this seems a little high, like it's not centered on there. Things like that needs to be adjusted so it could be just right. Okay, so how does that look? A little bit more maybe. So we have this huge gap. It's almost big enough. So it's gonna start at plus 40. So let's start at plus 35. And let's continue on until, I think that's fine, but maybe a gap of this size would be better. So we just removed 5 from it, which we need to add back, plus the 5 that we want to add. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Now that's nice. Wait, too little room here. I'm not nitpicking, I'm just gotta get it right. So it starts there. I need 1. So the width of this guy goes that much. This one starts. So where it starts, I can add to it. So it starts at 35, and starting at 37 would give me two more units between here to introduce a gap. Hopefully it's not too wide. That looks good. That looks about right. Yeah. So we can pick what we want now. So we can pick what we want now. So scale, it's not changing. All right, cool. I know why it's not changing. I'm not panicking or anything. Just screwing around. Excuse me. Well, it's not changing because the list is being drawn here. Our default inspector does its own thing. It knows how to update and do everything about its inspector. And we have no indication of when anything changes in the list that we're drawing. So we need to update, which pulls the values out of the serialized field, and then when we do whatever we do in there, we need to reapply those properties. So that's what these 2 lines of code do. So they pull out the values from the serialized fields and allow us to modify them, and then they apply those modifications back so the changes can persist. That is close. I didn't even notice that, and I don't like that. I'm going to show it works, and then I'm going to go back and reduce that gap a bit. So now we have our rotation, our position, and our scale. And see, they're still the same. And it's changing up here in response to how we manipulate them. Okay, so we pull the values out, storm, and plug them back in. So the width is where the problem is. The gap between here I'm satisfied with. I can take 1 away and it wouldn't hurt me. So I'll do that. And the width, I'd make it 69. 70, take 1 away, 69, and give me a double gap. So we'll go with the 69 here. And now the height. So we take the Y and we add a single line height to it. Single vertical spacing to it. So spacing. Standard vertical spacing. There we are. So trans equals trans on the field. We can also add it to our field rec. So a single vertical spacing of my experimentation is about right there. This is how they draw it. So that's how much space they allow for a single line item. And there we have it, smack dab in the middle, fully selectable. And it sure beats this crap up here. And we can add and remove them now that we've updated the serialized properties. So now that we have that working, we can draw all properties excluding the limit transform. So we'll put that in there. And it will exclude that and draw these things here. Okay? So, and nothing's changing here. So is everything broken or what? If you remember from what I said the last time, then that's the problem. We pulled the properties out, and in order to make these changes persist, or even to see them at all, we need to push them back in. So we pull them out, adjust them, put them back. So our changes should be reflected now. And I was thinking about something else, the title. So let's that and title, something about the title or the heading, header height. Draw, I don't see the header. Okay, here we are. Draw header. Let's go up here and that, and get this superficial function, which you really don't need. I just need to know what it uses. So it uses a rec. I can just grab it, I guess, since I'm already here. Just pass that. Let's end that line, and let's introduce the goes to operator. I think that's called. Can't use rec. We could just use R. We can use rec. We're outside of the function. Cool. So it's its own little function. So that we take and we can draw an editor label at that position that they gave us, and we can tell it what to draw. New GUI content. And how about we call it, I don't know. I'm thinking if we could just take that. Huh. I don't know. I'm working on a name. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? PRANSFORM. So we'll transform those values. Right now I have value constraints. You know, I name stuff, you know, more like engineering naming instead of a name that people understand. That's why I told you guys what it does, so maybe you guys think of more of a layman name. So here we have our transform values. So what do we want to transform? We can transform nothing, which doesn't make any sense. Or we can add as many whatsoever-who's-its as we want. We can remove, and we can run. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. So this is the exact same behavior that we had before. Let's remove this component. Cool.